Let's talk about how far gone we are as a society. So, on multiple pages on social media, there's this fight being posted and reposted, and what you see is a group of adults in an all out brawl at a trampoline park where children are present. In the comments, where I'm expecting to see a bunch of adults talking about putting these children in harm's way and setting this terrible example for the children present, what I saw overwhelmingly was comments making assumptions about the race of the people that are fighting and throwing out a bunch of racial slurs and stereotypes. Now, let's be clear. The only thing that matters here is protecting and, the safety of the children. Race is the least important thing here, so much so that it's completely irrelevant. So I'm going to talk about that last, but let me get started by talking about some other things that we need to be concerned with. Let's talk about how adults need to take personal responsibility in the way that children turn out. First and foremost, over the decades, there's been a lot of talk, especially bashing younger generations for not going outside and playing anymore. And they're engaging with electronics versus each other. And oh, look at how violent the children are nowadays. Well, that's because of all of the violence in those video games and TV shows and movies that they watch. Let's be 1000% clear. Any gadget, gizmo, or game or electronic that any child is in possession of is because an adult designed it, and an adult bought it for them and then gave them permission to use it. Likewise, any violence that you see in a video game, on a television show, or in a movie was also scripted and curated by adults. That's our fault. And then, likewise, we will tell even children violence is not the answer. Conflict resolution through clear communication. Use your words. Well, what do you see the adults doing here? Are they using their words? No, what's happening here, the violence is live right in front of these children's eyes in real life, not behind an electronic. And also, you see this not just at the trampoline park, which is, by the way, a safe space that is created to bridge the gap between children being indoors and playing outside. It's a way for children to be active and engage with each other, right? Combating that, childhood obesity and all of the other stuff that you complain about, the lack of social skills and soft skills. But the adults are ruining it for them. You know where else you see adults doing this at? Little League, Pee-wee games and whatever. You see the parents getting into fights with other parents, the coaches, the referees. That's called sports rage. And then you see it again with road rage. You got children all on the roads in vehicles with their families, children in the car with these people, and you fly off the handle into a fit of road rage where you chase down another driver because they cut you off in traffic or something silly. Look at the live examples of violence that we set for children right in front of them. And the piss poor examples that we set for conflict resolution, using your words, being active, and fighting obesity. It starts with the adults. But let's talk about what the children were doing and saying. First, let's talk about what I heard in the background. You have children that seem to be excited about the violence and the fight that was happening more so than anything. Hey, that doesn't happen every day and everywhere you go, so maybe I can understand that. But I was disturbed by the way profanities seem to just kind of roll off your tongue there, as if you talk that way all the time, which means once again what? That adults are speaking that way around you and not just on the TV. Another thing, I heard a child say, he hit a woman. Let me tell you, that fight had been going on for quite some time, and it was a group of men and women, whatever, fighting. But the child wasn't triggered so much until you saw that man in the red pants punch the woman in the face. So let's talk about that. Not only was it shocking how desensitized a lot of those children were to where they didn't have enough sense to get out of the way. Let's talk about the bystander effect, how a lot of adults didn't feel the need to try to help break it up as much as they wanted to film it and comment on it, right? nor did many of them even try to get the kids out of harm's way, right? Let's go back to that thing about now I'm appalled by the fact that a man hit a woman. We have to stop teaching our children that boys don't hit girls without telling also that it is inappropriate for girls to hit boys. We are now inundated with this manosphere, pink pill and red pill talking points all over social media. Well, this is what my platform is about, the orange pill for balance. Balance equals righteousness, and anything that lacks balance will inevitably lead to chaos. It is not okay for anyone to hit anyone. And whereas we see a lot of toxic masculinity going on and people talking about that, toxic femininity is not talked about nearly enough. The women in this video were throwing feet, fists, and folding chairs right along with the men. But as soon as that energy came right back to them, they got knocked right into their femininity and then eventually their victimhood. You got Blue Pants over here acting like she had been knocked into a grave if she was a corpse or something, when really she was just playing possum and waiting until her group was winning so that she could get up and run right back into the fray and start fighting again. Likewise, you have Red Pants over here punching the poor home blonde dye job in the face, and she fake cries for a moment, and then 2.5 seconds later she's talking on her cell phone, and then she runs right back into the fight. Women, you are going to have to stop doing this. Stop teaching our daughters and sons that men are somehow made of vibranium and thus it's okay to hit them. It is not. Keep that same energy across the board, and everybody needs to keep their hands to themselves. Now, I'm addressing race last because it is the most irrelevant non-factor in all of this. And yet still, in over 85% of the comments, that seems to be what people were arguing about. First and foremost, I've tried to trace back to what is the original video, and it seems to lead to a Hispanic or Latinx, Latino woman, whatever. Likewise, I believe that about 90% of the people in this video are also Hispanic, Latinx, whatever you want to call it. Okay? But there seems to be in the comment section, the real outrage is not the fact that there's a melee happening endangering children, but the only problem with the fight is when what they perceive to be a light-skinned black man hit a white woman in the face. Let me be clear. What it looks like to me is all of the women here fighting are Latina, Hispanic, whatever. As it pertains to the men, it seems like I saw one or two white guys, but most of them, including the red pants guy, appear to be Hispanic, Latino, whatever. As far as black men, it seems like there was one trying to break up the fight and one that runs onto the trampolines to get a child out of the harm's way, right? But other than that, it seems to be a bunch of Hispanic, Latino, whatever people. Here's the thing. Regardless of race, nationality, country of origin, ethnicity, color and creed, none of that matters. And the fact that most of you were only upset by the fact that you thought that there was black violence lobbied against white people not only shows how ignorant you all are, because first and foremost, let's just look at black or African American, Hispanic, Latino, and Indian people. These people come in the palest to the richest of hues. So you don't even know if the darker people that you see on there are black or that the paler people that you see on there are white. What I do know is none of them are victims because they all participated in the fight. That's it. That's all. And they all should have gone to jail for endangering the lives of those children. You all are throwing all of the stereotypes and racial slurs and so forth and so on. Oh, look who it is. Should we be surprised? Always the N-words. They're always being violent. What is wrong with you all? And why do we constantly take the worst behavior and the lowest common denominator of all of these different groups and create stereotypes around them to make blanketed statements about the entire group? And by the way, we seem to do that for everybody except for white people. Because could you even imagine if every time you saw a white male between teen ages to the age of 50, you either assumed that he was getting ready to shoot up a school, do some sort of serial grilling, or or has just committed serial rape against someone? Because of course we can't say real words on the internet. So whereas, and I'm just using that as an example, since we want to base things on statistics, which statistics in and of themselves are skewed because they don't include the inherently corrupt criminal justice system to begin with. But the fact that you all are more worried about race than you are about the safety of children, let me say this. And on this, I am going to land my plane. Just like the people who are in the video fighting need to be arrested for endangering children, I think we probably need to call Child Protective Services on anybody talking about race and throwing racial slurs in the video comment sections. And here's why. What that tells me is you probably aren't concerned about the safety of your own children. You probably normalize violence around your own children. And worst of all is mindset and ideology that you are programming children with these biases and prejudices that are making them a danger to themselves and to others. We need to set better examples as adults for our children, and more so than anything else, protect children at all costs.